Good morning, happy Sunday, wherever you are in the world, or good afternoon if you're watching this later or if you're outside of the United States. Welcome to day 6 of Ask Me Anything series. For those that do not know me, my name is Omotola the Great. I am the lead consultant here at the Funding Magnet, where we believe that you don't have to go broke to make a living and that you can make a difference while you're also making a living as well. And today we're going to continue in our conversation on the third kind of funding stream you can activate for your nonprofit. One of the questions I get a lot is all about, how do I fund my work? I'm tired of self-funding. I don't know how to get support for the work that we do. The work we do is so important, but no one seems to care. What can I do? How can I increase the funding, the donation that is coming to our work? And so today we're going to cover that. But before I jump into that, I'm just going to introduce myself and tell you a bit about myself and my brand. So like I said, I am the lead consultant here, and I've been in the nonprofit world for over 10 years now, and it looks like yesterday when I got started. And so I had a nonprofit called 𝘾𝙧𝙬 Academy, and we worked in Nigeria with Nigerian youth. At some point we're outside of Nigeria as well, working with youth from other African countries. And so over the past 10 years, I've had to use different funding streams to help sustain the impact of our work. And so I know what it feels like to be a nonprofit funder. I know what it feels like to have a passion, to believe that you have a purpose and want to live that purpose out to your highest potential. And so sometimes as a nonprofit, some of the things that stand in our way is always funding. We have so many good we want to do. We have so many population community that we want to work with. But sometimes if we don't figure out our funding streams, if we don't figure out how we're going to raise the support to do this work, it can feel defeating. And so I don't want you to stay defeated. I don't want you to feel defeated. And hence why the Funding Magnet exists. We believe that you can do this good work that you were called to do and don't have to stress out about how to fund it, how to get support and partners to help you to sustain your impact and expand it as well. And so here we propel, position, empower you to your highest potential and for you to reach as many people as possible. And more than ever, if you look at what is happening all over the world, there is a need for this sector. Even though it's called the third sector, there is a need for it, and you matter. The work that you do is so important, and that's why I like to call you champions, because you could have chosen to do anything with your life, but you chose to sign up, you chose to do this work, you chose to start a nonprofit. You could have chosen to do any other thing, but you chose to care, and that is really commendable as well. And so in this journey, it's not always going to be smooth sailing and easy, but I want you to know that it is possible. Funding your organization is possible. Fully funding your budget and being able to impact as many people as possible is definitely possible as well. Research has shown that in the first year of starting a nonprofit, more than 50% of these nonprofits closed down. I don't want that to be your story. And then to even further the cause, within 10 years, 30% of the existing nonprofits will close down as well. And so that should not be your reality. And that is why the Funding Magnet exists, to be your partner, to aid you, to support you, teach you and show you how you can create a profitable and sustainable organization that is impact driven. And so that is all we are all about. And we hope that whether through our free or paid content, you're going to be able to continue to do so much good in the world and in the society as well. So that's a bit about me and the organization. Now back to you. So I have received multiple messages and emails about funding. Just yesterday, I got a message on LinkedIn saying, this is what we do. We need help. We don't know how to raise money, support to fund this work that we do. And so on this series, I have 7 parts in terms of the funding streams that you can activate for your nonprofit. So on Friday, we explored the board of directors or board of trustee as one source of funding stream for your organization. And then yesterday, we talked about individual donors and how they are essential. Research has shown over and over again, individual donors give the most. Just in 2020, over 2.5 billion was given by individual donors. Only 54 was given by funders that give grant to organizations. So individual donors are a great, they will be a great arsenal for you as you go forward. But today, I want to talk about the third funding stream you can activate, and that is grant. I know this is the most popular funding stream that a lot of people know about, but there are a lot of misconception when it comes to grant. Who is it for? What can you use it for? And how easily can you obtain it? So today I'm hoping to break it down, and hopefully you can use this as a strategy to be able to increase your funding so that you can do so much good in the world and for the population and the location that you care about. So what are grants? So grants are not loans. Grants are not money that you borrow. Grants are money that is given to you for a specific purpose. And so even though you don't have to pay it back in terms of returning the cash to the funder, you still have to report and show them what you did with the money. So a funder can choose whatever criteria that they want in terms of for you to be able to assess the grant. And so different funders, depending on the location and the type of foundation they have, can decide what kind of grant they want to give, who they want to give it to, and how they want to go about it. And so some of the few things that you should know about funders is the first and foremost, they also have missions and vision. So a grant funder already has a mission. They have a vision of who they want to serve, the population they are interested in giving their money to, the location where they want their money to go, the kind of issues or challenges or problems that they want to use this money for. And so it's not just about the population. There may be a funder that cares about children, but they may care just about the mental health of children. There may be another funder who cares about children, but they care about the emotional and physical health of the child. Or there may be another funder who cares about children, but they care about just the material need of the client, of the student or children. There may be another funder that cares about children, but all they care about is education. And so just because a funder cares about children, you still have to double down to check what problem do they want to solve. What is it that is their driving force? And so before you apply for any grant, don't just see there are thousands of grants out there. If you go on Google and say grant for this, you see a lot of options for you. But before you get so excited and just click on one and just start applying and writing your application, you need to really do your due diligence by researching the funder. Who have they funded in the past? Most of them, they have a website where they will show you past funders, the amount they gave to those potential funders as they go forward. And so it's very important for you to do your due diligence and research the funder to say, who have they given to? What location do they work in? What kind of problem or issues or challenges is the funder focused on? Because if you just think that, a funder, they care about children and you stop there, you may be surprised after you've done the work to submit the grant to realize that actually, yes, they care about children, but they are focused on the mental or physical health. They are not focused on the education of those children. And so funders can choose their pathway. They can choose what they want to do. And so it's your job as the change maker, as the person who is looking for funding, to do your research to learn about who are these people, what do they care about, what kind of population do they serve. And just because they serve children and maybe it falls in line with your own, maybe it's education and they focus on education, does not mean that every single time that is the case. Sometimes they might be restricted by location. There are some funders that will say we only fund people that work in this specific location. It can be by country, it can be by continent, it can be by state. Sometimes it can be by county or what you call local government if you're in most African countries as well. And so it's highly important that you understand who the funders are, what are their mission, what population do they care about, what issues or problem have the funder trying to solve and work for this and provide money for in terms of what they're funding. And so when you see a grant, don't just get excited and then go to the application stage. No, you are missing a lot of touch point. Before you start writing any grant in the first place, you need to research the grantor, the funder, to say, what do they care about? Are we a good fit for them? Does our mission or our vision align? On a scale of 1 to 10, if I look at the population that we serve, the location that we are in, the kind of problem we're trying to solve in the society, does this align with the mission and the vision and the objective of the funder? If you don't take the time to do this, then a lot of people get surprised by the end when they don't get the grant. I've had people that have messaged me, emailed me to say, well, we've applied for grant over and over again and we just keep getting no's. And then when I do a review and check who they apply to and what they're asking for, I realize that there's a misalignment, because it's either the mission is not the same, the objective is not the same, or they are not niche specific in terms of the population and the problem that they're trying to solve as well. And so I want you to avoid this headache of spending so much time and resources to write a grant application and at the end of the day not being funded. And then also I don't want you to be discouraged if this has ever happened to you. At one point or in your lifetime in this industry, you're going to get rejected, but that is not the end of it. The truth of the matter is, even if your grant was rejected by that funder, you can always revamp it. It's a product. So don't think of it as it's useless. There's nothing I can do with it. It's a product. All you just need to do is tweak it again, look for the right funder, and then you can use it and apply it to be able to get those funding from the other funder. But so that's the first thing. Do your due diligence. Ensure that you know everything you need to know about the funder and make sure that it is in alignment. If it's less than 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your match, then probably you should not apply. But even if you're not sure, the next step that I will teach you is to reach out to the potential funder. Usually most of them, you can call them or email them, not all of them, but majority of them will give you the opportunity to interact with somebody from the foundation. So it's very important that if you're not sure, and you're like, I think we're a good fit, but I'm not sure, it's always good to, if you can call. If you can email, send an email, introduce your organization, thank them that, we saw the opportunity to apply for this grant. We just want to make sure that we're a good fit. If you have a one-pager about your organization, your mission, your vision, the population you serve, the problem you're trying to solve, the location you're in, send it to them so that they can say, I think you're going to be a good fit. You definitely qualify for this grant. But if you don't do that and then you just apply, then you find out later that actually we don't qualify, then you might feel dejected. I don't want it to be that way. So that's another thing you should note. Then the other thing in going forward is that it's not just enough to be a good fit for the funder. It's not just enough for you to be a good match in terms of the problem, the population, the location that they want to serve and what they want to they want you to use the money for. Another important thing that you need to take care of is the documentation. Beyond just the grant application, whether you're submitting it in person, you're scanning it in, or you're filling it online, the next thing that is really important is to consider additional documents. Most likely, especially for grant, there are more than like $5,000 or more. They are going to always ask you for additional documents. They want to know who your board members are, how much have they given, what is the percentage of giving for your board. That most of these funders are going to ask you that. So you need to have those details. You need to have it in hand. Not that you're running 𝘾𝙧𝗫 when it's time to submit because you don't have this information with you. Then beyond this document, they want you to be registered. There are some grants that they don't care if you register or not, but those are very, very little, like less than 1%. Most of the time, and nowadays, those grant funders, they want you to be registered. And so if you're not registered officially in your country that you exist in, then your chance of getting grant is very, very reduced. Yes, there may be some that they're free for all, but the competition is so much higher because as an individual, they're applying, organizations are applying as well. And so you need to really make sure that you have your registration documents intact as well, because depending on the country or the continent that you're in and the funders that are out there, they will definitely ask for this. And so do you have those documentation? Do you have your bylaws? Do you have all of the governance document that you need? Sometimes they might call for this as well. Beyond the registration document and your board, another thing that they ask for is your financial statement. And so they want to see for the past 6 months or 1 year or for the past 2 years, if you've existed for more than 2 years, what have you done? How have you been able to manage money? They want to see your cash flow. They want to see your balance statement. And so a lot of nonprofits don't have that. They don't do financial audit. And so before you even apply for a grant, it's important, even if you are a good match, to check what other documents they're asking for. And so if they're asking you for financial statement and you've never done an audit, you've never balanced your book, you don't even know what your budget is, you don't even know how much you spent last year and how that impacted the community or the population that you serve, then that's a red flag for those potential funders. And they're like, if this person didn't take the time to actually do this and to manage this side? How are they going to be sure that they're going to manage this money and use it well? And so your financial document, it's very important, and it's something you need to get on. And it's not too late if you're like, you know what, we've been existing for 3 years, we actually don't have any financial document. It's not too late to start working on that and getting that in place, because more often than not, the funders are going to ask for it. And usually sometimes they ask for like unofficial one, but most of the time they ask for an audited one by an external auditor. And so you can definitely invest in that. If you want to make grant a funding stream for your organization, you need this document to be in place, and you definitely need to work on that and get that going for you. And so these are some of the documents that will be requested from as you go forward. Another thing is your budget. So I know a lot of non-profit, they like to do good. They count the time, their impact by numbers. We want to impact 500, we want to impact 100. But have you broken it down? They will ask you for not just your overall 1 year annual budget for your whole organization. They're also going to sometimes ask you for your program budget. If you're applying for a specific program, let's say as an organization, you have 4 or 3 programs that you run in a year, and you're applying to this specific funder for one of those programs, they will ask you for the budget for your program. So you say you want to do this program, you want to help 100 people. What does this look like in terms of cost to deliver this work? What will it take? What will it take in terms of material supply, whether people or things, to make it happen? And so you need to have a budget. You can't just, and then it's just not to have a budget. You need to be able to have a written explanation for the budget. We call it budget narratives. And so it's not just enough to have a budget that is in Excel or just showing the number. You need to make the number make sense in terms of your narration, to say, this is why we want to help 50 people. This is what it's going to do. And so you need to be able to narrate that as well to those potential funders. And so if you don't have a budget, if you're not taking the time it's not too late. We are still in the first quarter of this year. You still have 9 months to go. So you need to have a plan. What exactly are you doing each month, each quarter, if you work by quarter, or once or twice a year, if that's how your organization run? And so having a budget is very, very essential in ensuring that you can do the good that you say you want to do. And so these are just some of the documents. There might be other documents that they request from, but those are the most essential that I've seen in my work and in the grant that I've written, that they will always almost ask for every single time. And so I hope that this help you as you're preparing for the grant. And so that's the phase 1 in terms of getting ready. Then and so we've talked about how to ensure that you're a good fit for the grant funder. Now the document that they're requesting for. And then when you now write the application, another thing you should do is that if the funder did not ask you to add any additional document, maybe they gave you a list of send this. Don't try to do 𝗚𝗲𝘁 and go overboard and try to add additional document they are not requesting for. That might be a red flag for them, because like, this person is not listening to instruction. We are only asking, except they say you can send us additional. But if they don't say send us additional document beyond what we requested from, do not try to think that, oh, I'm going to be this student that is overzealous and I'm going to give them more than they asked for. Stick to what they asked for. Do it well for what they require. If they don't say give us extra, then don't bother to add those extra, because it's not going to change how they feel about your application. They are not going to look at it. So you will just waste your time creating all of these wonderful slides or creating all of these graphics, when at the end of the day, it's not going to move the needle in the decision of whether they're going to fund you or not. And so it's very important that you really follow exactly what they ask for. If they ask you to give it in PDF, send it in the PDF. If they ask you to give it in Word, send it in Word. If they ask you to give it in Excel, send it in Excel. Don't try to make it complicated that it should be more than ever before. So that's the before the grant, right? So let's say they now gave you the grant. So what do you need to do during the grant? First and foremost, send a thank you letter after they've given you the grant. Because yes, they gave it to you. Yes, you did the work for it. But it's all about building a relationship in any of the funding stream that you're going to activate. Like I said, it should never be about one night stand. It should not be like one time. Your goal is to be able to be a repeat, make those funders repeat donors, repeat givers that give to your organization. But if you don't take the time to thank them, even if it's 1,000 they gave you, if it's 500, if it's 5,000, I don't care that amount. make them feel good. Because the next time they have a call for application and you go back, they're going to check their record because you already have an history with them. And if you don't thank them, how would they feel? Or think about it, you gave somebody something and the person did not even acknowledge you. They didn't even, how does that make you feel? I know that you won't feel good. So exactly the same thing with funder. They don't need it, but it's better for you to do it than for you not to do it. It helps you. It keeps you at the top of their mind. Because if they're now looking at past applicants, and then out of 10 people they gave grant to, only 2 said thank you, and then the next year they call for another grant and all of you apply again, guess what? Your own applications will move to the top because they remember that you thanked them. They remember that you acknowledge what you did and you did that. And so it's very important that you take that time to thank your funder during the process. Don't wait until after. Immediately after you find out about getting the grant award, within 24 to 72 hours, send a thank you note, whether by email, whether by calling, however it is that makes sense for you and the funder. Then during the grant as well, do not try to change what you wrote. If you said you're going to use the money for a specific thing, don't try to change it up and say, oh, something better came up, I'm just going to use the money for this something better. That is a total red flag. And sometimes if you don't let those funders know and explain and give a justification for why you do that, they might ask you to return their money back to them. And so it is very important that you follow the protocol that you set up. If you say you're going to use it to help youth, don't go to women or go to older adults. Like, you need to really be specific because it's a contract. Sometimes at the end of when you're getting the grant, you might have to sign what they call MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which basically tells them, we said we're going to use this money for this, and this is exactly what we're going to use it for. So you're signing the contract with them to say, for this money that you've given us, this is what it's going to go for. So you can't just come up with a better idea and say, I'm going to change it without talking to the funders first. And they have the right to say yes or no, because what you requested for, you're now going back on it and you're not saying something else. And so you can just make those decisions. And then depending on the grant that you get, there is what they call restricted fund and then not unrestricted fund. So restricted funding basically means that it's specific to certain things in your organization. Yes, maybe you may have 3 components of your program, but this grant funder said, I want you to only use this money for the first component or the second component, or just 1 and 2, not 3. So you can just now make your own decision after you've gotten it to now use it for 1, 2, 3. If they only say you should use it for 1 and 2. So it's very important that you stick to the plan and you stick to the agreement that you made when you submitted those applications to those funders as well. And so you can just change your mind and use it for something else. No matter how good and worthy and better it is, you stick to it. Or if you think you must change it, then talk to the funder before you even make that decision and say, this is what has happened, this is what has gone on. Please, is it possible for us to change this, to do that? And so, but if it's restricted, hardly would they say yes to that. They might say, okay, give us back our money, apply again, and then or send another proposal or something like that. If it's unrestricted, that means that you can use it for anything, at least that is still in resemblance to what you said the proposal is about and what you said you're going to do. And so they might not be picky about use it for this, use it for that, among all the things that you do, but it should still align with what you said you were going to do in the first place when you send that proposal in. And so that's another thing that you need to really be mindful of after you get the grant funding as well. And then when we now go to after the grant is over, because depending on the grant funder and the kind of grant you apply for, there will be a duration where they will ask you, what duration are you going to carry this out? And so one of the things I like to tell my clients is, don't try to overpromise. A lot of us, we're so excited to get the money, so we try to say, oh, we're going to do it in 2 months, in 3 months, when realistically it's 6 months that you can actually do it. So don't be afraid. Be confident in your theory of change, in what you want. And we're going to talk about that later this month, about how to create your theory of change. But you need to be confident in it and be able to back it up with evidence. There may even be a red flag, because these people, they're wise, they are sensible. So don't think that, oh, maybe if I say it's going to take a shorter time or lesser amount of money, then the chance of them giving the money will be high. No, they have people that review your grant. They do the research. They try to understand the field. They try to know something about the population or the problem or the issue that you're trying to solve. So if you allow that, or the excitement of hopefully getting the funding to make you like on the overpromise, then you're going to be in trouble if you get the money and then you realize that, oh my goodness, this is going to take much more amount of money to do, and this is going to take more time than what you said in your grant application. So it's really essential that you take the time to be realistic in your timeline. Set smart goals, smart objective when you're writing your grant for what you said you want to use it for. And so that's another thing to watch out for. And then last but not the least is the final stage, which is after the grant is over. So let's say you said 6 months and then you were able to carry it out. You need to be able to document your progress, to tell them this is the before and this is the after. So we said we're going to do this program. This was our theory of change. We said that if we implement this and we apply 1, 2, 3 things, this is going to help this client move from 0 to 5. So we want to see that progress. We want to see that journey. What did you do? What was the result? Did you actually get your from 0 to 5? Or was it more 0 to 4? Or 0 to 3? Or 0 to 7? Did you exceed what you said it was possible? And so you need to be able to document that and do a program evaluation. Because yes, some of them may ask for it, some may not, but more often than not, those grant funders are going to ask you, what did you do? Share your report with us. Some of them might even ask you to come and do a presentation where you have to do slide and dress up, whether virtually or in person. Sometimes all they just ask for is like you should email them. Share your budget, your expenses. You said you're going to use this. This was the budget you said. What did you actually spend? How many people did you actually help? What was the result of it? Did you meet your goal? Did you meet your expectation? Or did you surpass it? Or did you not meet it, and why? And so no matter the result that you get, let's say you thought something was going to be so wonderful and great, and you're going to move from 0 to 10, and you only got 0 to 7, you should still tell them. Don't try to falsify it and try to make up what is not right. You need to be able to explain why or why not. Why did this happen? Why couldn't you meet your goal? Why did you exceed your goal? Why did you just meet your goals and things like that? And so you need to create a report where you can really show them and be accountable for what you're giving. Because if you can do that, whether or not it was a success by your definition or not, it's going to stay in the mind of these funders. And so the next time there are opportunities or things like that, you're going to be top of their mind. But if you choose not to report back to them, if after you've gotten the money you don't thank them, you don't give them the result of your program, whether it was successful or not, and the reasons and the justification for it, the chance of them helping you in the future is going to be very, very slim. And so I hope that this is helpful. I know this is more technical stuff, but I promise you, if you can do these things and do it well, the chance of improving your funding is going to be way higher. Because I still had a conversation with someone yesterday that was like, oh, we've applied for grant over and over again, we just keep getting rejected. And I promise, if I review their work, they are missing 1 or 2 things in these things as they go forward. So I hope that will not be your case, and you can apply and implement this as you go forward to help you to be successful in the work that you do. So that's about the technical of writing, of finding, of submitting, right? But what is now other important is this. The next thing I need you to focus on is in terms of the quantity. If you want to make grant a funding stream, you can't just apply for 1 grant a year and then just expect the miracle will happen and you get it. No, you have to create consistency about your grant. If you want to make grant funding one of your funding stream that you want to activate, it cannot be once a year, once every 3 months. My own suggestion, what I usually tell my clients, is at least 2 to 3 grand per month. And I know that you feel like, oh my God, that is a lot. But let me tell you the reason why I say 2 to 3 grand at least per month. The truth of the matter is, grant is not like individual donors, where if you can talk to somebody today, they'll send you the money today or tomorrow or within a week. With grant, it ranges from 8 weeks to 6 months, sometimes even a year, depending on the amount of the funding that you're requesting for. And so let's say you apply for a grant now, you might not get it until May or June or July. So if grant is the only thing that you're waiting on and you only apply for 1, are you now saying that you're going to wait until you get the money before you can do the good work you said you're going to do, right? And so irrespective of whatever funding stream you are activating, I usually recommend that you have at least 2 to 3 going on simultaneously at the same time. And so think about it, when you're applying for grant, different funders have different stages. So some of them, all you just need to do is send in the letter of inquiry, which we call 𝘾𝙧𝙚. Then after 2 to 3 weeks, they'll say, congratulations, you can now submit the full application. And then they might give you 30 days or less to submit that application. And when you do, then it might take another 4 to 6 weeks for them to meet, and then you get your decision. So if we put all of that together, that's 8 to 12 weeks, right? But for some, it might be like 6 months. Beyond just the full application, they might have an interview portion. So congratulations, we love your full grant. Now we want to interview you. We want to interview your team. And so when that happens, that does not mean that they're going to give you the grant. They might have say, okay, great, we want to do a site visit, whether it's virtually or in person. And so we want to talk to your stakeholders. So depending on the funder, depending on the stake in terms of the amount you're asking for, there might be different processes along the way. And so I don't want you to now get stuck that you're only applying for one grant that has 10 steps, and the chance of getting the money might be 10 months from now. What is going to happen to your impact? What is going to happen to the people that you said you're going to serve? And so that's why it's very essential that you apply to just more than one. That's a good question, and I'm going to talk about it. Thank you for asking that question. Wonderful. I'm going to definitely respond to that. And so again, it's very important that you take the time to apply to at least 2 to 3 grants. And so the question that just came up now was, what happens if you win 2 grants simultaneously for a project? So for the same project, wonderful. Like usually, depending on the grant and the funder, they usually ask you, who else is going to fund this work? Who else have you applied to? So grant funders expect you to have other people, potential either streams of funding sources or other grant applications that you've sent out. And so they are aware. Usually in some grant application, most of them, they will ask you, where else have you applied to? And so what is the total cost? So let's say your budget is 100,000, and let's say you only asking for 20,000, or that's all they can give. Then they know that, yes, you might have to get the money from. They want to know how you're going to be able to get the money, or you can think about your sustainability. So let's say you apply for 100,000 and the funder wants to give you 100,000, and you apply to 2 grants and they said yes to you. So this is how you can go about it. You need to be honest, to email them, say, thank you so much. We said our budget was 100,000 for this year to do this work, and we received 100,000 from you. Then we apply to other funders as well, and we receive the money for the same project. This is how I would like to go about it. So you need to have a plan. So the 2 options you can do is, like, first and foremost, you can ask them, can we use your own grant to increase the number? We said we're going to help 100 people with this 100,000. Now that we have 2 grants from 2 different sources, we'd like to double the number. So even though we said it was going to be 100,000, 100 people that we're going to help, but now that we have 200,000, we can actually double our impact. Will it be okay for us to modify our agreement or our contract to our application to say that because we got this extra funding for this same project, that we're going to increase the number of people or community that are going to benefited by 2. So that's one way that you can do it. Another way that you can do it is to say, can we use this for another project? Let's say you don't want to double your number of impact. You just want to do the 100. You can now have to, thank you, because we received it. You have to say, is it possible for us to use it for another program? We have another program. We have another project that we didn't apply for this for, but we would like to use this for this. Would that be acceptable? Or the third option can be, can we use it for next year? Like, and will it be okay if we like use this for next year as to fund the same project, but next year, because for this year we have another grantor that is giving us the money for it. So I hope that helps. So those are the 3 ways that you can go about that particular situation, but you need to be able to be open and honest about it. But usually, depending on the funders, like especially if you're first time applying to that particular funders, sometimes they will not give you the full budget that you're requesting for, and so they expect you to have other means that you're going to use to be able to apply for it. So let's say it costs 50,000 and then you got 20,000 from them, then you need to, then that other project, the other grant you apply for, you might be able to cover that as well. So I hope that helps. If you have any follow-up, feel free to definitely put it in the chat as well. But hopefully that was helpful as you go forward. And so just to wrap up again, if you have questions, let me know. But like I said, the third stream of funding source that you can activate for your work is the grant. And so grants are very essential. Grants are good, but you need to do them in volume. If you don't do the grant in volume, then the chance of you making it something that is repeatable and reoccurring is going to be very, very slim. So it's very important. You're very welcome. it's very important that you take the time to create a plan for your grant, to say, okay, how many grants you want to apply for each month. If you want it to make it like and like for any of these funding streams, none of them should be more than 50% of your budget. Because anything can happen where, like, let's say you got the grant, but something happened to the organization and then they are not able to fulfill what they said and you are banking on them, then what is going to happen to your work? And so as much as possible, whichever funding stream you choose to activate, it should not be more than 50% of your of the money that is coming in or the funding that is coming into your organization. It's very important because anything can happen, like in case of 𝗚𝗏𝘁, like we like to say, anything can happen. And so as much as possible, you need to diversify. Like that's the only way to fully fund your budget. You need to be able to diversify your funding source. It cannot just be one. You cannot put your egg in just one basket, just grant alone, or just your board of trustee or board members, or just individual donors. You need a combination of all of these things to be able to move your work forward and do the work that you do. And so yes, grants are great, grants are wonderful, but you have to do them in volume because there's no guarantee that you get every single grant. No, you might do your due diligence, but the truth is, think about it, thousands of people are applying. So you're not the only person. So, and sometimes the resources are fine. Maybe for that year, the funder said we only have 100,000 or 100 million, and we can only have 100 organizations. So even though your grant application might be the best in the world, but just because of the amount of people that are also requesting for it, it might be a tough decision. At the end of the day, you might not meet the mark for that year. But like I said, don't ever feel discouraged even if you don't meet the marks. Your grant application is still a product. If you can create a full grant application, it's golden, because the next time you apply for another grant, yes, you should not send the same grant to another funder, but you need to match it up. But the work that you have to do, let's say it took you 20 hours to write one full grant application. When you have that full grant application, even though it was not funded, the next time you see another opportunity that you're a good fit for, and you just revise it, it's going to take you less than 5 hours or 10 hours to do that and be able to customize it to that particular funder. And so even if you're not funded the first time, that is a product that you can hold on to that will keep giving back to you over and over again. And so don't let it discourage you. Just know that this was not the right one, and a new one is going to come forward for you to use, and then you can use it. So at least 2 to 3 grants every single month that you need to do for your organization, because like I said, the time ranges in terms of when they are going to say yes. Some might say yes in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks, in 3 months, in 6 months, and so you need to be able to stack it in your favor if you want that to be one of your funding streams to come. So I hope that helps. If you have further questions, feel free to send me a DM or leave a comment here. I'll be happy to reply and definitely answer you. And then before I go, I'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Eastern Time, and around 12:30 p.m. West African Time to go over the 4th funding stream that you can activate for your organization to be able to fund your impactful work. As always, I'm just a DM away. Send a message, don't be a stranger. And if you are interested in any of our trainings, if you go to the link below, I have a training coming up next month. Every single month I do a free masterclass where I teach you about something I think it's essential and important for your organization. And so for next month, the training is on the fully funded plan. You need to create a plan. One of the reasons that research has shown why non-profit fail, why they close up, is because they lack a strategic plan. And so I want to teach you the component of creating, there are 5 components to creating a fully funded plan for your organization so that you can continue to fund your work, and then you don't have to be on the budget ever again. And so it's free for you. You need to show up. If you don't show up, you want the replay, then there's a fee to that, but it's free. It's going to be 1 hour, but I promise you, you're not going to waste that 1 hour. It's going to be essential for you. So click on the link and sign up for it. Also, we have already trainings that we've done. There are some free, there are some paid. You can click on the link as well and learn about our TFM Digital Academy, where you can get some free or some paid thing about what you need. And if you have a specific question related to your own organization, feel free to message me as well. If you need help with either finding a grant and reviewing what you've done, let's say you've been applying for grant and you just seem as if it's not working. I promise you, it might just be a little tweak here and there. So reach out to me. I love to help you. I do a service where I help you to find the right perfect fit funders, and also do grant research, do proposal review as well. And so I am just a DM away. Again, thank you for your time and your attention. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And please implement what you're learning, use it. And if this has been valuable to you, please leave me a review. Please share this out with your network. Anyone else that you think needs to hear this, that you think needs to know about this, please use the share button and share for everyone else to see as well. Again, thank you for being a champion for good, and keep doing good. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye and have a wonderful Sunday.